Hey, welcome back to Woodworking with Wes. Today I have another new little jig that I've made for my table saw. I call it a tall fence jig that fits on my table saw and helps me make special cuts. I want to show you what it works for and how to build it. Let's get started. Well, in order to explain why we actually have to make a tall panel jig, let's look at what we use a tall panel jig for. If I were to make say I'm making a saw cut raised panel door. So you set your saw blade at a bevel, but you have to cut your panel standing up like this because your saw blade has to be tilted that way. Okay, let's take a look. All right, I've got my panel sitting here, but I've only got just 2 inches of support, and it's awfully hard, especially if I had a bigger door. I don't have enough support here. So we're going to build this tall panel jig, and I have all my pieces already cut here, but I'm just going to walk us through what pieces go where, how it goes together, and how it makes a safer way to cut tall panels. I have put my fence in the middle of my saw so that we can work on both sides of it. Let's start with this side here, and then we'll come around and we'll go from this side over here. I have cut 2 2-inch strips, one 1 1/4 inch strip, a 5-inch strip, and this is about a 3 1/2 or 4-inch strip that's a leftover, and I'll show you where that goes in just a minute. My fence is 2 inches high. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put, let's put this piece here and this piece here. We're going to nail these 2 pieces together. This is being a 1 1/4, this being 3/4, now brings that up to 2 inches. We're going to put our other 2-inch piece on the other side, giving us a layer of material on both sides of the fence. So let's start off with this one. We're going to use 1 1/2 18 gauge nails and a little bit of glue. So let's see, the reason I keep looking is because I want to make sure I turn the nicest edge into the saw, because as we get ready to do this, you'll see why. Okay, so this goes in against the saw, and then this goes like this down against the table, and we're going to just put a little bit of glue. We don't want a lot of glue because we don't want any squeeze out. We just want a little bit of glue to help hold it in place while we do our nails. All right, 24 inches long. We're making this 24 inches long, like I said. We'll nail this together in a perfect right angle. Make sure that you keep your edges nice and smooth. We don't want to have any unevenness as we're working this along. Okay, we now have a perfect right angle. This goes down against our saw table. This goes against our saw fence. So this becomes this piece right here, right now. Okay, remember I said that on the other side, our fence is 2 inches high, so this is now flush. We have another 2-inch piece that we're going to put on the other side. And this piece goes across the top of both pieces and is nailed down through. So let's go ahead and do that over here so you can see how we do it. And we're going to also put a little bit of glue. I'm going to use this for a spacer and hold it. And again, I'm going to turn my nicer edge. On this one, it doesn't make any difference. I'm going to do that this way here. All right. We want this to be flush end to end and flush with the outside. Okay. Now I measured, as I cut these pieces, I measured it so that when we get this put together, it creates a covering over the fence that is exactly the size of the fence. And you'll see that in just a minute. Okay, there's one half. Now we'll turn it around the other way. A little bit of glue down the top. Again, like I say, no squeeze out on this. This little bit of glue here is just enough to make sure that it has some extra holding power with the nails. The reason we don't want any squeeze out is because this fence has to be smooth on the inside and on the floor, on the bottom of it where it goes down against the table. We don't want anything to create any drag or anything like that on the, as we're moving along. And you can see I'm just working my way down with my nail gun, making sure that I keep this perfectly flush along this edge as I nail it. Okay, now this should be, if I did it right, should fit right down on my finger. Look at that. All right, now I know why, as I was talking about it, we wanted to make this nice and smooth on the inside, and that is so that it can slide along our fence like this. And I'll show you the reason of that when we get this jig all done. This is a necessary part for it to slide. But it has to be very tight too, because I'll come back to that too. All right, the next thing we want to do is put some spacer blocks. I've cut some little pine spacer blocks. I'm just going to go ahead and put these in, and then I'm going to come back and explain why they're here as we get this put together. This little spacer block goes down at this end. And we're going to put a little glue on it, like that. I'm making it flush with the ends, and it's cut to fit flush with the side here and flush with the top. It's 1 1/4 thick, and so my 1 1/2 inch nail will hold it in place while I finish it off here. So 1, 2, and then I'm going to put a nail here from the bottom to hold it. Now that's in place, and then this one goes here on the other end. Let's go ahead and put that in now. Again, glue, glue. And flush. Turn it upside down like we did the other one. Give it a nail from underneath to hold it square. Okay. And another nail up top. All right. That's that part. This piece here, now this goes on this side of the saw. Okay, if we turn it around, this piece here is going to go out here like this. So it creates a more of a flat, wide, flat surface that will run on our tabletop, on the table saw. So it's going to go just like this. And we're going to secure that with some nails from the inside, like that. Now it's going to take a little trick to hold that, but I'm going to show you it goes together just like that, and I'm going to give some nails on the inside just like that. Let me go ahead and get that done, and we'll come back. Now that I have this piece secure, I have two more spacer blocks. One's going to go on this end, and one's going to go on this end, just like that. Now these are a little bigger, and so I'm not going to be able to nail down through it because it's 2 inches wide. So I'm going to have to nail this all from the underneath side. So what I've got to do is I've got to flip this over like this and nail it from this side. And we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to give it some glue. I'm going to slide it underneath there. It's going to be flush with the end. It's a little long, you'll notice. Well, there's a reason for that, and you'll see that in just a second. Let me get a couple of nails in here. I'll show you what I'm doing. One nail from the inside here on the upright. Okay, let me show you how I did that. All right, here's our block. I nailed it from the underneath side. I gave one nail from the inside. This is cut square. I cut these on my saw sled, so that now makes sure that this is all square. These blocks square it up. This was all square. And so this now fits on top of our fence like that. You can see how that works. Okay, let me go ahead and get this other block nailed in, and then we'll come back. Okay, with our main part of our sled all put together, I'm going to put a piece across the top here that will add as an extra support and also as a squaring device. What we're going to do is we're going to glue across the top of this like that. We're going to lay this on here, and we want to be perfectly flush with this edge here, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay. It's very important for this to be perfectly flush here. I'm going to just hold this with my fingers for just a second while the glue sets for just 2 seconds worth. Like that. And I'm going to give it one nail out here. And then we'll put a clamp there. That's not going to hold. Okay, we got to do this different. We're going to put this like this out here. Okay, that solved our issue. That holds it. Okay, clamp that down good and tight. I'll come back when I get this all clamped up. This is proving to be a little more interesting. All right, this is what we ended up getting it clamped. Just like that. And I'll go ahead and put this other piece on the other end and get it clamped up. And then we'll come back after that dries for a little. Okay, the sled portion of our jig is all done. You can see how nice it slides over the top of our fence. I wanted to show you one thing before we finish up. If I want to be able to slide it, it slides real nice. If I don't want to slide it, this little space in here allows me to put a clamp and clamp it, and then it becomes, once I get it tightened down solid, then it becomes solid and it doesn't move at all, and I could move a longer piece of wood through, but that gives me the ability to use it both ways. Okay, let's get ready to put on the face of the tall portion of our sled, which is what we built all of this for. So let's get ready to do that. This is the upright portion of our sled, and we're going to nail it through the uprights, and along the bottom. So let's go ahead and line it up. This is pre-finished Baltic birch, so there's not going to be any glue on it because the glue wouldn't hold, but we're going to give it plenty of nails so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, now we'll take it off and stand it up and give our nails along the bottom. Okay, just like that. Now we have one more little piece that I want to put on. I'm going to put a center brace on here. I have it marked where I want it to go, and I'm just going to slide that in and put that there. I'm going to give it a little glue along the bottom where it fits against our center piece, just like that. And I'm going to give it some nails there. And then I'll turn this over and I'll give it some nails from underneath there. Anyway, what that allows me to do once these pieces are in, this gives me something to hold on to as I push the sled through. So let's go back now and review what we're going to be using this for. And if we were going to be cutting an angle, let's say we were going to do a beveled raised panel, saw cut raised panel, then we would just set it there. We could clamp our piece to our upright and push it through and make our cuts safely because we wouldn't have our hands down anywhere next to the saw blade. We could be up tight here. Like I say, we clamp our piece down solid on both sides so that it doesn't move. We would be able to push it through the saw blade, making our angle cuts safely and more accurately. And that's the thing that we're really after, being able to use our tools to get the job done accurately and protect ourselves with safety features along the way. So now you know how to build a high upright saw sled. Very tricky little thing to add to your repertoire. Let's look on some more things next time we come back on Woodworking with Wes.